Area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Seattle Sixers find a way to win a game that they probably should have lost last night. We'll get into that coming up here this hour. Plus, Phillies sweep the Rockies. We'll get to all that and more this hour. Plus, your text coming in at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And don't forget an opportunity for you to qualify for the Eagles trip to Baltimore. Thanks to Phillies Sports Trips coming up a little bit later this hour in about 55 minutes from now. Of course, our most recent qualifiers are Lori in Marmora and Chuck in Port Norris. They are our latest qualifiers, so you can be the next qualifiers coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Austin Krell, our Sixers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com. He'll join me in less than 20 minutes from now to dig deeper into not just the Sixers win last night, but the Knicks coming up. But before we get to the Knicks, we got to go into last night because there were two major takeaways I had from the game last night. And the number one takeaway I had was this team deserves a lot of credit for not just mailing it in last night. Down 12 points at halftime. Some teams would have just said, you know what, we're losing this game. We're playing poorly. It doesn't matter. We can still play on Friday. They could have had that mentality. They could have treated it like, hey, this is not our night. We'll make Friday our night. They didn't do that. They came out and fought and persevered in order to ensure they had an opportunity to win that game. And they still barely won it because of the fact that basically the Miami Heat, one of the concerns I told you guys yesterday was what happened yesterday. The Miami Heat got way too many opportunities to score from the perimeter. And it seemed like, at least for me, that while the Sixers did a better job at limiting the Miami Heat from shooting threes in the second half, for the game, there was still a huge problem down for all four quarters, not just down the stretch. But they did a better job at adjusting in the game last night. They made another adjustment at halftime, which was figuring out how to work around that zone. And I got to be honest with you guys, I did think it was a little disingenuous by the broadcast team. You know, last night it was Mike Breen, Doris Burke, and JJ Redick. I thought it was a little disingenuous by them to treat the Miami Heat zone as if, you know, that was the reason why the Sixers kept turning it over. And to me, there's two sides to that coin. Because yes, the Miami Heat played excellent defense in the first half, and they really frustrated the Sixers offense. But the Sixers also played very poorly in the first half as well. There were many times that they did not move the ball. They did not move themselves. There was a lot of standing around and guys kind of just barely almost like handing it off to each other. And so for me, I look at a game like last night where if you just would have executed your offense properly in the first half, if you would have been less sloppy in the first half, if you would have been more diligent with your passes and running the offense, you could have and should have not been down by 12 at halftime. There was that pass by Joel Embiid in the third quarter last night when he dropped it down low to Kelly Oubre. And while it was not officially a high-low, it was definitely a game where if you would have run more sets like that, where Embiid maybe starts at the foul line or starts at the low block and then moves his way up to the top of the key from one of those spots and allow the guys to rotate then down low and let the defense react to you, maybe you would have had more open opportunities and less turnovers last night. But for whatever reason, this organization continues to have a ton of problems with turnovers, a ton of problems with just brain dead moments. But because the Sixers actually have a legitimate supporting cast, because you could argue the Sixers have the deepest bench in the Eastern Conference, because the Sixers do have Joel Embiid, who scored 13 of his 23 points in the second half of last night's game, because Nicholas Batum went out there and had 6 threes, because you had, dare I say it, Tobias Harris rebounding the ball. You had guys hustling and grinding out there on both sides of the ball. You found a way to win the game. And I think they deserve a ton of credit. And looking at that game last night, there is one thing we know for sure. And Brian Windhorst brought this up on the Pat McAfee show earlier today on ESPN television. Brian Windhorst told McAfee this.
Calling the Sixers a 7 seed is ridiculous. They were 32-8 this year when Embiid played. That ain't a 7 seed, which is why some of the Knicks fans are kind of bummed that they worked so hard to get the 2 seed. Now they got to face this team.
Aww.
So when Embiid is there, they're tough, man.
When Embiid is there, 32-8. That's the key. Joel Embiid did not have a great game last night. He was not 35 point, 15 rebound Joel Embiid. You know what he was, though? He was a threat. He was dangerous. He was exactly what they needed last night. And sure, if you would have gotten more from Embiid, maybe you don't win 105-104. But the Sixers survived. And I would argue there is not another team in the Eastern Conference that can play Miami's level of defense. This might be the toughest defense you see the entire postseason. So, frankly, for as poorly as guys like Maxey and Hield and Oubre shot at times last night, for as inefficient as they were from three-point range, you could argue that you're not going to see that level of defense the rest of the postseason. And so it'll be a lot less anxious in some games because you know that you're not going to have a team who plays that level of defense. Now, I know some of you out there are saying, listening to me on 97.3 ESPN FM and on 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle, you're shaking your fist at the radio, you're shaking your head, and you're saying, Josh, come on, man. The Knicks play really good defense. The Knicks are a team that are a bunch of tough guys. They grind. I get it. And I know they are. But the Knicks have two problems compared to the Miami Heat. Number one, the Knicks don't have a legitimate player who can defend Embiid. Bam Adebayo is one of the more athletic big men in this league. The Miami Heat have very athletic big men. Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein, those are not elite athletic big men. All right? And I think that is what gets overlooked in this conversation. The other side of it is, for as good as the Knicks defense is, and it is, I'm not saying they play poor defense. I'm not saying that at all. they are also a team that doesn't score a ton of points consistently. The New York Knicks offense is not great. As Brian Windhorst explains, their style of play could actually help Joel Embiid in this series.
Here's a stat you want to hear every day. Jalen Brunson led the league this year in dribbles by like hundreds because the Knicks play really, really slow. They play old school basketball. He dribbles it up. And Embiid, that helps Embiid because Embiid can't be running up and down the floor. If Embiid was playing the Pacers, that would be hard because he's going to have to move. Against the Knicks, he can play a little slower. That should favor him. And if he stays healthy, they got a great chance.
That was obviously Pat McAfee dribbling in the background just to be, well, Pat McAfee. But the point Windhorst makes is great, though, because he's explaining that when you look at a team like the Knicks, they're not trying to run up and down the court like the Pacers. They're not trying to be great athletes like the Magic are. They don't have the prototypical players that would allow you to win a shootout consistently. They're not that kind of team. They are a team that unless Brunson goes off, which he's more than capable of, by the way, you're not getting into a high-scoring game with them. To end the regular season, Jalen Brunson had, I think it was 7 straight games, I believe it was, with at least 30 points. One of those games, they lost. Okay? They lost 108-100 to the Bulls. The last time Brunson didn't lead the team in scoring, they lost that game too. In fact, there have been multiple games this year where Brunson has had great games. The reason why the Knicks win is not always because of Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson keeps it in games because he's tenacious and he's fearless and he's intense and he's tough and he is a guy who should be one of the 3 finalists for the NBA MVP award. But outside of him, they don't have a lot of consistent scoring. DiVincenzo is a streaky player. OG Anunoby is a streaky player. Josh Hart is not a guy who's going to consistently go out there and give you tons of points. Bogdanovich is a guy who is also a streaky shooter. He is not consistently putting in 4 to 6 threes every single night. So the Knicks are a team, if they want to slow it down, I think the Sixers will be more than happy to oblige them in that matchup. All right, before we hit the break, Jeff from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, hey, Josh, you said the Sixers would need to find a third scorer last night, and that they did. It's great to have Nick Nurse coaching our bench. I like the Sixers in 6 over the Knicks. It's from Jeff in Ocean City. Jeff also sent me his bet slip here. So he got the Sixers at plus 360 to, I'm guessing, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, it's plus 360 if the Sixers win the series in 6. I think that's what the odds value is there. But back to your original point. I think that the Nick Nurse part of this is the conversation that we have been trying to have, but a lot of Sixer fans have been pushing back on the fact that for my entire time here at 97.3 ESPN, I have worked here. I started in a smaller capacity in 2015, and then I became Mike Gill's producer full-time in 2016. It was in March 2016. So my entire almost 10 years working here, I have never heard Sixer fans not complain excessively about the head coach. And the whole reason why people like me wanted the 76ers to hire Nick Nurse was because he was not like Doc Rivers. He was not like Brett Brown. He is a guy who fits what the Sixer fans want from their coach. They want a guy who is going to be strategic. They want a guy who is going to go out there and elevate the bench and empower his team to be successful. And I think that because you have Nick Nurse, I think that might be the difference. You look at all the great teams in NBA history. A lot of those teams finally had success with a different head coach. I mean, I think Phil Jackson was the fourth different head coach that Michael Jordan had in Chicago. We know that Kobe Bryant, they had to go from Del Harris to Phil Jackson for the Lakers to win. The Pistons had to go from Rick Carlisle, I believe it was, to Larry Brown. The Miami Heat, they couldn't win with Stan Van Gundy. Eventually, they handed the reins over to Eric Spoelstra. The rest is history. They got rid of Dwayne Casey in Toronto. They made Nick Nurse the head coach. They won a championship. And the list goes on and on. Mark Jackson was fired in Golden State. They made Steve Kerr the head coach. So sometimes changing the coach, it's valid. It is something that does matter in a sport like basketball. And so maybe Nick Nurse, him being the head coach, does have something to do with all this. Well, we will ask Austin Krell his thoughts on the Sixers win last night and the matchup with the Knicks coming up next. And then back to your text messages a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming at 609-403-0973 in your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
It's Sixers Knicks Game 1, Saturday night on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Maxey on a drive. Maxey down the lane. They take a swing at it, and he puts it in. Maxey right down Broad Street. Clutch layup. Good, and a foul.
It's Sixers playoff basketball on South Jersey's official home for the 76ers. 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 6 p.m.
Are you or a loved one living with a disability in the Garden State? If so, NJ Able is here to help. This special tax advantage savings account lets those with disabilities save for qualified expenses without impacting SSI and Medicaid eligibility. NJ Able makes it simple to both save money and grow your savings by investing without having to give up important benefits you rely on. NJ Able can also be used to help with housing, education, transportation, food, and so much more. To learn more, visit us at nj.savewithable.com. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Have you ever lifted a piece of furniture only to discover the carpet underneath looks brand new while the rest of it looks, well, not brand new? That's when you realize you need new carpet. At the Home Depot, we have a wide selection of all the top brands. Best of all, installation is included. So all you need to do is choose something that matches your style. Start your carpet project today at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Installation included with qualifying purchases. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Sneezing, coughing, stuffy nose, runny nose, postnasal drip, interrupted sleeping. I was groggy at the end of the day.
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jana miserable. Then, a friend recommended Navage. Navage provides immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Navage helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
Navage gave me instant relief. I didn't have to wait 30 minutes. I didn't have to wait an hour, 90 minutes. I didn't have to wait a minute. I ran the rinse and I felt better.
Stop suffering from congestion and start breathing and feeling your best again with Navage. Navage.
I've had people ask me how I find relief, and I tell them Navage immediately. This thing is amazing.
Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line.
Does it have to be family?
It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Why do so many dogs suffer from weight issues, skin problems, messy poops, and low energy?
It could be the popular dog food you put in their bowl each day.
Cody was sleeping a lot, wasn't playing.
She was very lethargic and not moving around. Dry kibble just wasn't cutting it.
That's why, after more than 45 years of experience of helping dogs make complete health turnarounds, veterinarian Dr. Marty created Nature's Blend. It's a freeze-dried raw dog food made with wholesome ingredients like premium meats, seeds, vegetables, and fruit. And once dog parents switch their pups to Nature's Blend, the results can be astounding.
She's got her energy back. She's running around like she did like 5 years ago.
Miraculously, she's just feeling all around better. She's like a new dog. Thank you, Dr. Marty.
Get your dog started today and save up to 54% off Nature's Blend. Plus, receive a free pack of our best-selling beef liver dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the hot streak and the hot tubs. Go for a relaxing massage and for wild nights with your entourage. Go to play all day and to dance all night. Go for the rooms with the ocean views that go on forever. Go for paradise with a pair of dice. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Party responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll get back to your text in just a little bit at 403-0973. You know, it's always recommended that you actually finish swallowing what you're drinking before you turn on a microphone, but apparently I thought I could skip a step, but apparently that was a dumb job by me. But 609-403-0973 is the text board. George in Summers Point and more text. We'll get to it a little bit, but right now joining us, talk more about the Sixers game last night. Austin Krell, our Sixers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, joins us. Austin, welcome in. How are you doing after last night's Sixers barely getting by win? How you doing afterward?
Got to bed at about 1 a.m. Got up at about 7 a.m. You know, coffee has been a good friend of mine today. Anything with caffeine, been a good friend. I'm looking for a good night's sleep tonight. I
literally just finished a 16 ouncer of Celsius. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat as you, man. So we're not too far off on the needing more sleep, having to caffeinate situation.
Yeah.
Last night, I want to start with this because someone brought this up on the text board. I want to get your perspective on this. How much of that win do we credit to Nick Nurse last night?
I think, like, first and foremost, one thing that Nick did specifically was he said he wanted more ball handling out there. He puts Campaign out there. He puts some other guys out there who are just going to make quicker decisions with the ball. He also says, he said when I asked him about it after the game that Tobias looked like he was exhausted. And so that's why he didn't finish the game. He played until about 4 minutes left in the fourth, and that was it. We'll see, time will tell if that's actually really what he thinks or if that's a theme coming up in the playoffs as they advance further. But I think it's a massive reason why they won the game. I think coaching can sometimes be thought of as what kind of schematic adjustments or lineup adjustments you're making. Sometimes it can just be the conversations you're having with players and being like, this is what I need you to do more of. And, that was Tyrese, not being aggressive enough. And so they were like, you got to, don't be afraid to drive more and really be you. And, Tyrese did do a lot of that. Put the ball on the deck and drove more against the zone. As soon as they put Buddy Hield in the third quarter and Nico Batum comes in and they take out Lowry and Tobias. And I didn't say Lowry and Tobias for the reasons why, but as soon as they put them in, the decisions were a lot quicker and snappier. And Miami was having to work harder to make defensive rotations, and then the threes start to fall. So I think you do put a sizable chunk of it on Nick Nurse for having the the audacity, if you will, to say we're going to take this guy who has been a full season starter for us and a high minute player for us, and we're going to put him on the bench in the biggest moment of the game. But I think it was more so Joel seized the opportunity in the fourth quarter, was not very good up to that point, had a really good fourth quarter. Batum stuck some threes, and there was some other shooting luck for the Sixers, but a lot of it was like, Jimmy Butler clearly did not have much to give on offense. Tyler Hero shot 9 of 27, and they did not have much to work with on that end of the floor, even though their defense did a lot of the carrying for Miami for a while.
You mentioned the three-point shooting. Let's get to that next, because I had said last night before the game that my concern was, could this be a repeat of the OKC game where it felt like the Thunder got a million three-point shots? And for a little bit of the game last night, it felt like Miami was getting every three-point shot they wanted, and that was a huge reason why the game was playing out the way it was. Can the Sixers do a better job moving forward at handling other teams getting open threes? Because we know with the Knicks, that is a perimeter team. They like to go bombs away at times. They are not a team that's going to ground and pound in the paint here. So, can the Sixers do a better job against the Knicks than they did against the Heat last night?
For sure. I think even if, I think Tom Thibodeau is a heck of a coach. Even if they decide like we're going to copy the Miami game plan and go zone, I think the Sixers have some memories to draw on to go if the Knicks do go zone. A lot of those open threes from Miami are or were, I should say, like transition opportunities that the Sixers afforded them with bad passes against the zone, with missed shots, with steals. Like Butler had a bunch of steals, and those. And when you're playing transition, you're inherently more likely to get open threes, and that's when the Heat struck and was on their run. I think the 3-point shooting volume and the willingness to pull the trigger is something that the Knicks are just built into the way that the Knicks play this season with the shooting that they have. But I would be a little bit more surprised if it's like they're getting as many open looks as the Heat got last night, just because I think open looks are a product of transition offense, and transition offense is a product of you struggling so heavily against the zone. And I don't think the Knicks are gonna. I don't think the Knicks. It's uncharacteristic of them to sit heavy in zone. I mean, the Heat ran more zone in the second quarter last night than the Knicks have played all year. That's a great stat found by Derek Bodner on this morning. He posted it on Twitter. So I wanted to give him his credit for that. But like that just shows you how much more the Knicks rely on man, which the Sixers schematically is not as complicated to deal with.
It's funny you mentioned that, because Brian Windhorst said something similar to the Pat McAfee show. He talked about how Jalen Brunson is one of the league leaders in dribbling in per possession, basically, and that the Knicks play a slower version of an offense. So, and he was saying that will favor a Joel Embiid who's not 100%. So I guess, on the opposite side, good news is the Sixers got the Knicks instead of the Pacers, right? Like it's kind of that mentality, right, going into this series.
So I think that it's a great point by Windy there. I think it's underrated but one thing that's so underrated about Jalen is that dude does not pick up his dribble ever, and he won't be pressured into doing so. So even if you feel like you have him cornered and you feel like all you got to do is just extend your arms and be long, and you have him in trouble, like you can't ever take your eye off that guy or let him or like think or like relax with him, because if you keep a dribble alive, you can go anywhere with the ball, and Jalen is very good at that, and so he'll never really be in that much trouble. You're going to have to apply much better ball pressure to contain him, and even then, it's still no guarantee that he's going to put himself in trouble. In terms of having to get rid of the ball. What this is going to come down to is like how much drop coverage do the Sixers play? How much can the Knicks get Joel in space? How much can he defend in space without compromising himself? Because if it's Jalen Brunson going up against Joel Embiid one-on-one in space, it's an interesting matchup. I don't know how it plays out. But if they're going to just say Joel drop back to the rim and it's Jalen Brunson taking open threes out of screens, you're in trouble.
Austin Krell, our Sixers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at NBA Krell on the Twitter X platform. we saw very high level, unique defense from the Miami Heat last night. How much of the struggles that we saw from guys like Maxey and Heald and others to make their threes that they usually would make, right? How much of that was the Heat? How much of that was the Sixers having a bad day at the office? How much of what we saw last night will repeat itself down the road or not repeat itself?
I think this is playoff basketball, and this is how these 7-game series typically play. It's like one of the few sports, maybe hockey's the other one. I'm not a big hockey follower, but maybe that might be the other one where like you can really make it ugly for yourself and for others as a means of winning. And as the games go on and you adjust and things get more physical and there's emotions and guys get a little too into it with each other. Like winning ugly is very commonplace in the NBA playoffs. So you're gonna have games where Joel and Tyrese look bad. You're gonna have games where they look great. You have games where they somewhere in the middle. The problems of last night, I think, are sort of a thing of that will stay last night, just because I don't think the Knicks are going to suddenly be able to on this type of notice be like, okay, we're going to fundamentally change the way we've defended all season long and go zone. And the only reason the Sixers really struggled last night is because Miami zone is incredible, and Eric Spoelstra finds ways to manipulate and change up the scheme. I mean, I think one of the underrated things about Miami's zone defense is like they have so many different guys that can guard different positions that they're pretty flexible. It isn't like it's going to be the same guys occupying the same parts of the zone every time. They can say, "Hey Jimmy, let's get you out up top. Hey Jimmy, let's get you down to the short corner. Kevin Love, let's put you in the middle." The guys are going to be in different spots, and so it's going to be a different look each time down as they realign. And so that's why it gets confusing and it gets hard to identify, and it gets a little crazy. Miami was in triangle and two a lot last night. There were moments when Jimmy was shading towards Tyrese in the corner to take away his right hand so he couldn't drive to the sides that he wanted to. I think last night was a very unique type of matchup, and I think it's the type of thing where, yeah, it was ugly. Yeah, Joel didn't look great, and that you could say that team's only 46-36. How do they only beat them by a point at home? There's not much hope going forward. We don't know how much better Joel is going to look going forward. He could gradually get better, or he could continue to look the way he is now, or get worse because maybe he's not 100% right, or maybe he just isn't in great enough shape at this point in the season. There's not. I would say this, like, you shouldn't go into the series thinking like you're in big trouble. You should have appropriate respect for the Knicks. They're a very good team. They're physical. They're scrappy. They're talented, but last night was a big step towards being like, yeah, we can hang with these teams. You played a really bad first half. You were 0-12 or 0-13 on the season, down double digits at halftime. And you came back and beat them by a point. And your best player didn't even play that well until the fourth quarter. And if we're talking about Joel's playoff resume and how it's been underwhelming, he saved his best for the biggest moment of the game. And that's what's going to win you playoff games is when things get tight, can Joel be the guy to give you a 10-point fourth quarter?
It's interesting you said that because, the stat is out there now. The Sixers are 32-8 this year with Joel Embiid on the court. And it's like, well, Joel Embiid didn't score 35 plus points in every one of those 40 games, right? Yeah. So that means 32 of the 40 games you are winning with Joel. That's a pretty high percentage. And like you said, yeah, he only scored 23 points last night, but he did it in the most important moments. And I genuinely think that them hearing the boos last night at halftime, I think it got them to pay attention. I think a guy like Joel, who loves the Sixer fans, who appreciates them, I think he realized that, hey, I got to come out here and be better in the second half. And to the point where I wrote the article on 973 ESPN.com, the video came out that was, well, it was sent to me, actually. It wasn't just come out, but it was sent to me that Joel usually doesn't stop after the game to sign autographs, but he stopped his car outside the arena and signed autographs for a while for a bunch of kids and took pictures. And like, it just shows you that Joel gets it. He understands what Philadelphia is, what it means to be a star in this city. And as you said, he came up and said, I'm going to give you a better second half than first half. And it was a huge reason why they won the game.
So one thing, like you say about Joel signing autographs, he is someone who is typically fairly reserved personality-wise in the public eye. He's not like a Caitlin Clark type who is going to sign every last thing in the building until everyone's gone.
Right.
But when people say like, "Oh, he's going to request a trade if they lose again," like that guy genuinely feels like Philadelphia is home, and he is not dissuaded or offended by the criticism. He understands it. He will tell you himself when he hasn't played well enough. It's just about having that signature moment that makes people believe that he can lead the team. But like I thought the big thing last night was the part of why they struggled against zone was they kept trying to force feed him in the first half, and it just wasn't there. They're passing into double pressure, and they're trying to get him going, and it's just like that's not there. And so they're making mistakes that way. Once they treated him like another cog in the wheel against the zone in second half, that was when they started to figure out some things and just reading and reacting to it. And so he hits those 2 threes down the stretch that are huge. One was trail man 3, so it wasn't like they were in his zone, but the 3 to tie the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter, that was him just stepping out and occupying a space in the zone and being open and making a shot. So that, and we could talk about the scoring in the fourth quarter and overall and him averaging 35 a game. The play that won them the game and that was fundamentally the ceiling, the biggest moment was him having 2 guys on him and recognizing Kelly Oubre sealing off Jimmy Butler inside and roping a pass between 2 defenders to get Oubre a bucket and the foul. That is something in the past where he puts the ball on the floor and tries to create and turns it over.
Yep.
He takes a contested shot or just, it rushes something and it goes badly. He was calm. He waited, he protected the ball, and he found the open man in the paint. And that is something that's a progression he's shown all season long and has been the difference in a lot of these playoff series when he has come up short. It isn't about scoring all the time. It's about making the right play.
Couple more for Austin Krell before you let him go. Check out all of his coverage of the 76ers at 97.3 ESPN.com and at NBA Krell on the Twitter X platform. Who is the guy not named Jalen Brunson that concerns you the most in this series?
It's Dante DiVincenzo. The guy is on fire from 3. He and Jalen Brunson have incredible chemistry. I'm curious to see if they run 2-man actions to see if they can get him going. They're probably going to run some Spain pick and roll where the big sets a screen for Dante to pop out of another screening action. They're going to try to get the Sixers out of rotation and then find him. And and that dude's averaging like 13 or so 3 attempts per game. He's hitting a high volume of them. He was one of the candidates for 6th man of the year, and he missed out on eligibility by like 18 seconds of game time, which is preposterous. So that's another head of their dragon on offense. If he's getting open threes, it's gonna be a problem.
When you think about the Knicks, how good are the Knicks? You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they talk about Thibodeau, they talk about defense, they talk about the Villanova guys. I mean, we've had a gazillion people just today, Austin, texting in throughout the shows, Villanova guys. Like, we get it. They have 3 guys from Villanova who get playing time. But what really is it that makes the Knicks a team that became the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference?
Well, so Tom Thibodeau plays his starters a million minutes, and that cream is going to rise to the top always. And so, like your 5 or 6 or 7 best players are going to be on the court all game long. And so, like they trade for Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks at the deadline, right? And those guys are seeing some limited minutes because of their defensive liabilities, what have you. And so I think they're very, very good 1 through 5, 6, 7. I don't know that they are even going to play guys 8, 9, 10 enough to really have them be impactful players. But that 1 through 6 or 7 are really good, and they're really good together. OG Anunoby has helped them get into transition a lot and take top assignments. When you're in transition, as I've said, open threes become a problem. Josh Hart is getting every offensive rebound he can get his hands on. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the NBA for a guy who's like 6'4", 6'5". This is going to be a very physical, tough series. It's going to have you sighing a lot, but it's also probably going to have you, smiling a lot because you have the talent upside here. The best player in the series is Joel Embiid. Second best player is Jalen Brunson. Third best is Tyrese Maxey. And then, it's like, who knows who I mean, and then there's a pretty big distance from there. Julius Randle being out is an interesting dynamic because he's a good talent, but he's in the similar vein to Tobias Harris, because the ball sticks so much, because he's a little bit erratic as a shooter and decision maker. You almost wonder if the role players on the Knicks can cobble together enough to make up for what he doesn't do well. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch, but it all starts on Saturday, and the Sixers, I think right now are they're basically even in Vegas money. Like, it's a pretty knotted up series. If Joel comes out and has a phenomenal first game, that could change things dramatically. And, we're all thinking, like, is Joel hurt or is he just tired? I challenge anybody to try to go and wrestle with Bam Adebayo for 5 minutes, for once in their lives, let alone for 36 minutes in a game. That dude pokes, he prods, he pushes, he is physical with you. He makes you earn every touch. And then if you try to repost, he's going to get right in front of you and back you and front you. So he can make you exhausted just by sheer force of I'm going to be a pain in the butt. And that's what he did to Joel last night. And I think it's part of why Joel looked so out of gas late. And so all that's to say, I'm interested to see if the Knicks can copy that type of strategy.
By the way, before I let you go, there's no NBA games on tonight. There's no Phillies on tonight. I don't see you as much of a guy that's going to watch a random hockey game on a Thursday night. So what does Austin Krell turn on the TV on a night like tonight?
Well, I have to preview the Knicks and the Sixers. There is not a lot of data out there because these two teams did not play when Joel was at full strength or when OG Anunoby was on the court. So I am podcasting with a Knicks guy to preview that series. And then Austin Krell might take a nap at some point in the next 24 hours. Maybe hit the gym because he hasn't done that a lot this week. But Austin Krell needs some sleep first and foremost.
Okay, well that's fair. I also did not get to the gym last night, so I'll get to the gym tonight. So that's on my itinerary tonight, which will probably mean my night will end up with me working later than I expected, getting home from the gym later than I expected, which means I probably won't get any more sleep than I did last night. But that's adulthood, right?
Exactly right.
Follow him on Twitter at NBA Krell on the Twitter X platform. Check out all of the Sixers coverage at 97.3ESPN.com. Sixers Knicks Game 1 at 6 p.m. this Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Austin, great stuff today.
Thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As promised, we will get back to the text board on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And coming up in about 11 minutes from now, your next opportunity to qualify for the Eagles trip to Baltimore presented by Philly Sports Trips.
Tomorrow on ESPN Radio, it's an NBA play-in doubleheader. First in Miami, Bam Adebayo and the Miami Heat face DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls.
We will do this the hard way. That has to be the path right now.
Then in New Orleans, Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans face De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings. It's win, and you're in. Coverage of the Heat and Bulls, followed by the Pelicans and Kings. Tomorrow on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m.
Do you have a job? Do you have $199? Do you want a brand new Nissan?
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Stuck in a loan or a lease? AJ the Trademan can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Then drive home in your new Nissan Sentra S for only $199 per month lease with zero security deposit and only $29.90 due. That's a brand new 24 Nissan Sentra S that gets up to 39 miles per gallon for only $199 per month. And don't forget the Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. on approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. VIN RY263341. Lease selling price $22,495. Offer ends 5/5/2024. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
With Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot, you can get up to $1,000 off select laundry appliances from top brands like LG, America's most reliable line of appliances. And with convenient shopping in-store and online, you can get new appliances with smart, intuitive features any way you want. Like a new LG wash combo all-in-one that can run a full load in under 2 hours. Right now, get $1,000 off select laundry appliances with Spring Black Friday savings in-store and online at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, April 19th through the 22nd, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
A healthy weight, more energy, and smooth, regular bowel movements. 3 things everyone strives for.
It's me, Chuck Norris. There's one really important thing we don't talk about enough. Our health. Achy joints, digestive issues, weight gain, and fatigue. We're told these are normal signs of aging. So working with the team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick.
Morning Kick is a revolutionary formula combining 10 different supplements in one. Probiotics that help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and several of the most powerful anti-aging supplements on earth. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, focused, and help manage stress.
Anybody can achieve great health regardless of their age.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com. Use code SUPPORT or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off today.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line. Does it have to be family? It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Why do so many dogs suffer from weight issues, skin problems, messy poops, and low energy? It could be the popular dog food you put in their bowl each day.
Cody was sleeping a lot, wasn't playing.
She was very lethargic and not moving around.
Dry kibble just wasn't cutting it.
That's why, after more than 45 years of experience of helping dogs make complete health turnarounds, veterinarian Dr. Marty created Nature's Blend. It's a freeze-dried raw dog food made with wholesome ingredients like premium meats, seeds, vegetables, and fruit. And once dog parents switch their pups to Nature's Blend, the results can be astounding.
She's got her energy back. She's running around like she did like 5 years ago.
Miraculously, she's just feeling all around better. She's like a new dog. Thank you, Dr. Marty.
Get your dog started today and save up to 54% off Nature's Blend. Plus, receive a free pack of our best-selling beef liver dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Morris River Diner in Port Elizabeth for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Before we get back to the text board at 609-403-0973, your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And before we have the next sounder go off for you to qualify for the Eagles draft party contest in about 5 minutes, I did want to touch really quick on the Phillies, because the Phillies swept the Rockies this week, and it's kind of gone under the radar because of all of the Sixers conversation we've been having. It's gone under the radar because, the Eagles, they specifically chose to have press conferences Tuesday and Wednesday, days that are supposed to be dedicated for the Flyers and for the Sixers and not for the Eagles. They could have been a press conference today. No press conference today. Can't do that today. Got to do it Tuesday, Wednesday. But I digress. I think the Phillies, they deserve a lot of credit for finally getting their offense going. Now, obviously, the game last night was closer than it should have been. Obviously, the bullpen didn't do a great job. But the Phillies starting pitching is becoming the reason why they're winning games now. And Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Turnbull, Sanchez, they're turning out to be in that conversation for best starting staff in baseball. So it was about time on Tuesday and Wednesday for the offense to come alive. I've been telling you guys before, I don't need to change the lineup. I need the guys who I'm paying to either do their job or get out of the way of people who want to do their job. The organization is paying Castellanos, Real Muto, and Harper a lot of money, and Turner a lot of money. It's on those guys to pick up the pace. And you started seeing the last 2 days, they are starting to finally do that. And I think that if the Phillies guys they are paying to hit, do their job. And the guys they are paying to play defense, do their job. And the guys they're paying to pitch, do their job. Well, you know what's going to happen? You're going to win ball games. And if the goal is to just win every series moving forward, is that all that matters? I think the hitters deserve credit. I have been very critical of Trey Turner. I have been very frustrated with JT Realmuto. And the last couple of days, they have finally played better. And Brandon Marsh, man, if Brandon Marsh keeps this up, and I'm not trying to have hyperbole here, but could he be an all-star this year? I know it feels like I'm saying crazy letting those words come out of my mouth right now, but the dude has 4 home runs and 10 RBI in 18 games. He has a 288 batting average. I mean, if he keeps this pace up, he might be an all-star. You get 4 home runs in the first 18 games of the year. Not even that, 10 RBI in the first 18 games of the year. I mean, that's almost 2 RBI a game. You project that out over the next 30 games, and you're telling me he has, let's say, 40 RBI before the All-Star break? I wouldn't mind seeing him be an All-Star candidate, right? Something to think about. George Summers Point, I promise to get to your text at 609-403-0973. George said, Josh, I agree with you about you said about the Sixers have to defend the three-point shot much better, especially against the Knicks. The Knicks have several good outside shooters, and I think that they can really turn a game because of the Sixers will have to dress up their three-point defense to win this series. That's from George and Summers Point. Yeah, George, you heard what Austin Krell said, that guys like DiVincenzo are good three-point shooters. Bogdanovich is a good three-point shooter. So realistically, you do have to deal with that three-point shot a lot better than you did last night. And I don't think either team is going to sweep this series. I look at the Sixers. I'll get my official pick tomorrow, but for me right now, I think this is a 6-game series. I think this is the kind of series where you are going to see a lot of ups, a lot of downs for both teams. It's not going to be as simple as if you do this one task. You will win this series. No, it's going to take good defense. It's going to take better offensive execution. As Austin Krell said, they got much better at moving the ball, treating Joel Embiid like he was a part of the offense, not the whole offense last night in the second half. If they do that for an entire game, they should win the series against the Knicks. At the end of the day, the Knicks have no real answer for Joel Embiid and Maxey. All right, you heard the sounder. Caller 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. You are in for the Eagles draft party contest where you and a friend get to go to Baltimore to see the Eagles play the Ravens this season, thanks to Phillies Sports Trips. But in order to qualify, you must be caller 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. We only have a few more days for you to get in on this. Only a few more days for you to qualify for the Eagles Ravens trip. Thanks to Philly Sports Trips. You must be callers number 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. Call now, 609-573-3776. Of course, you must be present next Thursday at Top Golf at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with a Schweiner.